Alright, I'm on hole number 2 of the Tropic Kings tournament in Tuesday's qualifying round in the rookie division. Let's go to Golf Class Notebook and check out hole number 2. Alright, I have epic failed on this hole twice. The first time I came here, it was in this account, and this account has a little bit higher level Guardian than my practice account. And I was able with a 3-power ball to get right, my red line was right in here, and I had a little bit of green to work with, so I was able to start on the green side. So the first time I came here, I didn't put on any side spin, I just did max backspin. And in order to get to the hole, my ball was down in this area. Now if I remember correctly, I think the wind's going in this direction. And I was right down here along this rough transition, and I hit it great to the left and ended up in the rough. So the second time what I did was I moved the ball out here so that I had plenty of room on each side of the ball to come in, and I used max backspin and side spin to work me to the hole. And it was all set up, and then the game glitched and I couldn't actually get to I could see the take shot, but I couldn't actually get to the point where I could address the ball, and it timed out. So let's try and not do any of that today. And I'm going to start off right here. I'm going to do this shot again. And then this is in my practice account, my Guardian, my red line was right here. And I'm not a big fan of doing overpower shots on par 3s. So I did start off on this island and bounced over to get up cleanly. So depending on the club that you have, you may or may not be able to start off on the green even if you use a big ball. So you may have to involve this island or this fairway pad right here in order to bounce over. And this is not that, in my game, I have no problem with this, but I am not. I've seen several people hitting from back here and doing the bounce from here, the bounce to here, and then the bounce onto the green. And I am not going to bounce from here to here to here and involve this sand, this water, this sand, all this rough. I'm not going to do that because you can get irregular. You can see if you look at the course here how it's moguled. So you can get very irregular bounces when you hit here. You can do everything perfect. You hit here, but you can get an irregular bounce because there's a mogul and end up hitting over here and end up out here. Or conversely, you can end up out here. So you don't have a lot of control over that. So the closer you can get, if you do fail, you're going to fail on the green as opposed to ending up in some really bad stuff. So in this account, because I've got a little bit higher level Guardian, I'm going to use a Guardian on it so that I can backspin it. And then I'm going to use a Titan ball to get me that distance to get up there towards the hole. And with my Guardian in this account, it's at 1.2, 1.5, 1.8 for my ring adjustments, and I'm going to be at max club, so it's going to be a 1.2 and a 10% wind adjustment. And what I normally do is I watch Tommy's videos just so that I can get the percentages for the uphill downhill. So that 10% came from Tommy, and then what I'll do is I'll go out there and try it without using it, and then see in my own game whether I'm seeing that same effect, if I'm off one way or the other, and then I'll work that number. And sometimes I find that number is what I want to use, and sometimes I find that it's not necessarily a wind number, I'm in my mid club. And so we're going to work that number based on your clubs and how you're playing the game. And not everybody out there uses the wind ring method. I have no idea why. So, talking about adding on to the wind doesn't really compute because they're not using those wind ring numbers. Okay, so there's max club right there. So I have just a little teeny sliver of green to work with. I'm going to do max and a little bit of curl. Or, excuse me, a little bit of side spin. Okay, so it's 3.5. So it's 1.2, so there's 3.6, and I'm going to add on 10%. That's another maybe third of a ring, quarter of a ring. Just nice and easy. And I hit it great. Anticipation. We'll see if this works. And it doesn't look like I'm going to be able to get enough backspin to bring it back to the hole, so I'm probably going to have to involve that first fairway pad. I'll have a little more control over the ball, but that first fairway pad's got a bunch of moguls on it. So getting an irregular bounce is very common when you use that. This is a tough par 3. So I think I'm going to switch this up and start using that pad just because I've got a little better shot with my backspin to be able to bring it back towards the hole. Alright, nice and easy shot here. Hitting it perfect. And no! The key on this tournament is there's 2 of these par 3s. This one and the last par 3 are super dangerous, and so it's really important that we get birdies on these par 3s so that we can maintain our round and not worry about the par 3s. This is the hole right here I'm talking about. Now, here's what I've done on this hole. So I'm using my Guardian and I'm using a Navigator in regular play, and I'm trying to hit off this first cut of the rough. So let me get out here where I can see it. I'm putting on backspin and then moving it over. Okay, so I'm doing a full wind adjustment, and on this club that'll be 2 rings, and then I'm doing a 20% increase, so that's another 5, so it's about 2.5 rings. Hitting it perfect. So even though I'm not in my minimum even though I'm not in my max club, what I found here on this hole is that if I hit a max wind adjustment and then add on 20%, now I had a side wind there, and in the tournament we don't have a side wind. I can't remember if we have head or tailwind. I think we've got tailwind. What happens a lot when you try this rough bump is you end up coming into the wrong cut. So if you've got head or tailwind, you'll end up in a different cut than what you set up for, and you go for a wild ride. But I definitely think that this rough bump is the way to go in rookie. It's just making the right adjustments so that you end up on the green, and even if you miss the hole-in-one, you end up very close to the hole, because you can get difficult putts on this hole, and I don't want to take any difficult putts. Just nice roll out to the green. I'll practice this hole a few times. I want to get this hole. If I get this hole in any of the shootouts, I'm going to practice it, because this is a tough par 3. I want to make sure I get those numbers dialed in, because it's also a par 3 that you can get a hole-in-one on it if you set it up right. But it is dangerous. All right, that was hole number 2 of the Tropic Kings tournament and Tuesday's qualifying round of the rookie division. Thanks for watching.